I've always loved hearing the origin stories of people who host podcasts or YouTube channels that I listen to. And so in today's video, I'm going to be sharing with you a little bit of my background, how I got started as an entrepreneur and how it's led me to where I am today. So if you're interested in a little bit of story time, then stick around. I'm going to try to not make this too long, but it will be a little bit rambly. Okay, so my entrepreneurial journey started when I was a little kid. Not because I started some amazing business when I was a little kid, but because my dad was an entrepreneur. He started his own business and he's always been his own boss. So I had that as an example. I always saw my dad working really hard for his money, but I also saw that he got to be in control of his own schedule and his own life. And that seemed really appealing to me. Now, one thing that I've noticed is that as children, we often don't have very many different examples of careers. And even if we read about different careers, we don't really see them in real life, see what they're like. So my dad is a landscape architect. So I saw what he did, and then I saw what the people who worked for him, who were the landscape laborers, did. And I heard about other jobs, but most of the other jobs that I heard about were things like firefighter or lawyer or doctor. You really don't hear about as much diversity as there really is out there as far as job opportunities when you're a kid. So I just saw some people who were like lawyers who sat in an office and made a lot of money, but they were doing something that was really technical, maybe kind of boring, and they'd had to go to school for a long time to do it. And then I saw other people who were like the firemen or the landscape laborers who were doing really physically hard work that was also kind of boring because it wasn't mentally stimulating, but they were getting paid very little for it. Now, honestly, I was a pretty lazy child. I wanted to be successful in life and I had great aspirations, but I did not like working hard. I wanted to be successful, but I definitely didn't want to sacrifice my life in order to get that. So I definitely didn't want one of those jobs where I saw people doing physical labor. And with my very limited perspective, it seemed like that was most jobs aside from being a lawyer. So I decided at a really early age that I wanted to figure out how to not fit into one of those two categories. I knew that there were some other people out there who hadn't gone to school for a long time. I didn't know what they did, but I knew that there were people who had found opportunities that allowed them to make a lot of money, but be able to do it from the comfort of their home or their office, and they weren't lawyers. So I was determined to figure out what sorts of jobs those were and to get one of those jobs, but I really couldn't figure out what they were. So fast forward a little bit to when I started my first real business. It was actually an accident. I started teaching piano lessons to just some families that I knew. And when I say it was an accident, I mean, I wasn't trying to start a business. They just approached me. They knew that I played piano. And just for reference, I wasn't a gifted piano player by any means. I didn't have some advanced training or skills. I'd taken piano lessons for a few years myself. I knew the basics, and so they just wanted me to teach them the basics. So I taught piano lessons and I taught flute lessons. And that was my first real dip into entrepreneurship. And I started doing that when I was 14 years old. It was a great learning experience. And I would say that one of the biggest things that it taught me was just about really, I would say, hard work and being organized, because I quickly learned that I had to show up reliably at my customers' houses or meet them wherever we were having the lessons, and that I had to be really reliable or else they wouldn't want to keep working with me. And in order to be reliable, I had to keep a schedule and keep my calendar up to date. And so I just learned a lot of life skills from that. But as the months and the years went on, I realized a few things. First of all, I realized that in order to be successful at that, I really needed to have more students. And so my main focus with teaching really became marketing. It didn't matter so much how amazing of a teacher was. Of course, I tried to be the best teacher I could, and I kept learning more about teaching and about music so I could provide the best services to my customers. But my success in terms of money and lifestyle and career was really dependent on how well I was able to market myself. And so that became my main focus in my career development with that career, just learning marketing skills, learning how to grow my business, how to attract new customers, and how to keep those customers. The other thing I realized though was that I definitely did not want to be a music teacher long term. I didn't want it to be when I grow up, I'm gonna be a music teacher. So I kept thinking, when I grow up, what do I wanna be? And I really didn't know. And the main reason I didn't know was because I was really trying to figure it out. And the way I was trying to figure it out was by looking at lists of majors at colleges that I could potentially pursue, and looking at lists of careers. And what I noticed about all of those careers was that they seemed like they were going to require a lot of effort, both in terms of schooling, but also there was no way that I could make the living I wanted to make without working 40 plus hours a week. And as someone who, like I said, was a lazy child, I was really looking for something that I could do to leverage my time and earn enough per hour that I could work less than that. Because one other thing that I knew was that I did want to be a mom. It wasn't the most important thing to me, but it was something I definitely knew that I wanted. And I didn't want to be a mom who had to work 40 hours a week because I really wanted to be able to spend plenty of quality time with my kids. So I was looking for an opportunity and it didn't really seem like it existed. So fast forward a few years, and as I was working on transitioning out of being a music teacher, now mind you, this was after I'd been a music teacher for over 8 years, I decided to put my marketing skills to work for me, because those were skills that I really enjoyed using and were skills that paid a bit higher than the music teaching that I was doing. So I started a small marketing agency called Aptus Creative Marketing. And so, of course, at first it was just me, just doing freelance marketing work. I was doing Facebook ads and Google ads for my clients, and also doing some social media management. Honestly, the biggest problem with this business, especially at the beginning, was that I was trying to do too much. I was trying to do anything that people wanted me to do. I wasn't niching down, I wasn't specializing. But that meant that I had a harder time attracting clients and I wasn't able to charge as much. So as I continued to grow that company, I realized that those were issues and I decided to really focus in on Facebook ads. And for about a year or two, I did exclusively Facebook ads and I hired some people to help me, just a few other freelancers to help me manage my clients' Facebook ads. And that went pretty well, but during that time was when I decided to start this YouTube channel. And the reason I started this YouTube channel was because one thing that I'd learned about marketing, when I'd learned about all these different types of marketing, was about content marketing. And content marketing is when you create content typically on the internet, so articles or videos or podcast episodes, and you use that content to attract customers to your business. So I decided to use content marketing to advertise my marketing agency. So I was going to create videos on YouTube that were focused on marketing and teach people about marketing, show off my marketing skills and my marketing strategy so that customers would want to work with me. And so that's what I started doing about 2.5 years ago. Once I started making videos here on YouTube, a few things started to happen. First of all, my YouTube channel started to take off pretty quickly. I think it's because I was using YouTube intentionally for my business. So it wasn't just a hobby that I was trying to occasionally find time for, but it was a specific business activity that I was dedicated to. I decided every Monday I'm gonna make a YouTube video to market my business. So due to that consistency and that focus that I had on it, I really put a lot of effort into my videos and made them as good as I could. And so I think that that's one of the main reasons why it started taking off quickly. The second thing that happened was just that as I continued to work with my Facebook ads clients, I learned more and more that I didn't love working one-on-one with clients, doing service work for them that way. It was just something that doesn't go very well with my personality, found it kind of frustrating and constraining, and I realized that the work that I loved doing was teaching, and that's what I got to do on YouTube, and that's also the work that I was doing, of course, in the past with music, and so I think that that's kind of a pattern throughout my life, something that I see repeating. But music wasn't my passion. I was much more interested in marketing and in entrepreneurship and in those topics. So now I was getting to do something that I would say is more one of my skills in life, teaching, and on a topic that I found really interesting. So as my YouTube channel continued to grow, I ended up shutting down the marketing agency, completely stopping working with clients so that I could focus completely on this business that I run today. So the umbrella name for the company that I run today is Gillian Perkins International, and then we have a subsidiary called Startup Society. And in this business, we're able to provide free content here on YouTube and on my website, and then also paid educational programs that people purchase in order to learn more about business and marketing themselves online. Because really, the biggest challenge for most small businesses is just getting visibility. And the work that I get to do at this company really fits in so well with my skills and with my passions. And I feel that I finally found that thing that fulfills both my original desire for a career, something that I can do from my home or from an office, and that I can use to leverage my time and build streams of passive income and earn a great living, and at the same time, something that I really love doing and is providing value to the world. So that's kind of the big picture of my entrepreneurial journey, how I became an entrepreneur. Like I said, it started when I was just a little kid with some ideas, some dreams that I had that were very, very vague. And I know that when you're setting goals or when you have dreams, people will tell you to narrow them down and, be focused with them and get super clear about them. And I do think that that's really important. But if you have some dreams that are big and vague and you don't quite know what they'll look like yet, just know that that is the first step towards eventually achieving them, and you can work on finding clarity from there. Sometimes it's a long process. In my case, it took me, I would say, over 20 years to figure it out, but you'll eventually get there. Do you want to work for yourself, but you need a little bit of guidance? If so, consider joining Startup Society. Startup Society is a training program for online business owners and is also a very supportive community. As a member of Startup Society, you'll get step-by-step guidance for exactly what you need to do in order to grow your business and your profits month after month. If this sounds helpful to you, then just check down below for a link with lots more information about Startup Society. We would love to have you be a member and to work with you to grow your online business. All right, well, that's it for this video. Of course, if you're new here and you want to learn more about entrepreneurship and success and personal development, then be sure to subscribe to my channel because I make new videos about those topics every single week, and I'd love to have you join me for the next one. If you enjoyed this video, hit that like button to let me know so I know you want to see more videos like this in the future. All right, well, that's all for today. Thanks so much for watching. Hope you're having a fantastic week, and I'll see you next time.